Good. All right. So we're live on Telegram too. So those guys can listen in. All right. We got some exciting stuff to recap about tonight. We had an AMA earlier in the week that I think a lot of people were able to tune in on. We got some more followers now from it, more people interested in the project. But we're going to keep these AMAs every week on our channels too, just to keep the community updated on everything that we're doing in the background, because we've got some really cool stuff in the works. So with that, I'll let Todd and Rachel, I'll let you kind of do the introductions for the people who are maybe not familiar with the team. And then we can kind of go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you, Justin. Rachel, why don't you take it away? You're on mute, Rachel.
I insist, Todd, please do the introductions while I figure out my audio.
Well, it'd be my pleasure. Are you sure? Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the Wegro AMA here on February 3rd, 2022. We're delighted to have you. Thank you so much. I know your time is valuable and we appreciate it. I want to introduce to you our president, founder, Sean Crawford, our COO and co-founder, Rick Gilchrist, and of course, one of our senior trusted advisors and really the pioneer on the crypto team here, Justin Mayer. Even though you started off, Justin is a very humble man. And our beloved CEO, Walt Rampata. And last but not least, my cohort in crime, Rachel Amin, who is our co-MC. Rachel, why don't you take it away now, and I'm going to hand the mic to you.
All right. Well, I got my mic working. So welcome everyone and happy Thursday, one more day to go. So I'm super excited. I got some inside scoop before this started. So I'm in a super good mood about what's happening at Wegro. But I know that we have a lot of people who have never joined before. So I think we're going to take kind of our traditional talk track through all this. As far as who we are, what we're doing, what's coming up. And then we'll finish, if we have time, with the ambassador program. Of course, we always do Q&As as well. Ambassador program has been hot on a lot of people's radars. I'm going to give you the full scoop at the end of the AMA, time permitting. So with that said, let's go ahead and kick it off with some what's new at Wegrowness.
Walt, you're on mute.
Thank you. It would help if I took that off.
Confusing.
Yes. So I want to reiterate everything that everybody's already said, and thanking everyone for joining us for this hour. We know that you could be doing a lot of other things besides spending it with us, so we greatly appreciate you taking this time and hanging out with the Wegro team. We've got a lot to cover in this hour. We're going to try and jam in a bunch of stuff, starting out with some of the more high-level stuff and then diving deeper. Understanding that we probably have a few new people on this call today. We're going to start off with some of the more traditional Who Is Wegro, and then dive into the state of the industry, how things are looking right now, some of the interesting things that have occurred as of late in the world of cryptocurrency. And then additionally, behind that, we're going to talk a little bit about the progress that we're making on our roadmap. To Rachel's point, she got a little bit of an inside look prior to getting on the call with you guys. And there's a lot for us to talk about. So excited to tell you about what's going on with our roadmap. And then finally, we'll wrap up, as Rachel said, with the ambassador program. So to start with the highlights, who is Wegro? Let's start there. Wegro is a seed of an idea in many regards, and pun intended there. It started out as in some respects, a conversation between friends trying to figure out how we can give some of the benefits that we as growers were experiencing in the cannabis and hemp industry to those friends of ours that wanted to have some of the same. The old adage was, we were trying to figure out a way that our friends could have a little bit of green in both pockets, like me and some of the other members of our team. And that said, green to spend and green potentially to consume. That's probably a good juncture for us to stop and make a little bit of an introduction as to some of our backgrounds. I think it's important for those that are on this call to understand the team at Wegro, not just the project itself. So I'll start out by talking about myself, and then I'll hand it off to both Rick and Sean to briefly talk about themselves. because I think it bears mention into the project that we've got in front of us and the knowledge base that we're pulling from and propping this project up and making it turn into a rocket ship. So my name is Walt Rampata. I have 25 plus years experience in the marketing world. Good portion of it client side, but also a good portion of it agency side. I've owned 3 agencies over the course of my career, so I'm also an entrepreneur by spirit. So you're going to find that out about a lot of the people on our team. Starting companies is kind of something that we do. And so we've got some real vets on the team that are used to getting companies off the ground. So with that said, I'm also going to pass it off to our other 2 executives on the call to talk about their backgrounds, because I think it's important for you to understand how it intersects with this industry. Lastly, I'll say that currently, I also have a full service marketing agency that services the hemp and cannabis industry exclusively. So understanding that, my role primarily with Wegro is in overseeing our marketing efforts. So I'm drawing from those 25 years of experience, both in and outside the industry, but also more specifically in and around cannabis. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Sean Crawford, who is going to tell us a little bit about his background.
Thank you, Walt. So Sean Crawford, president of Wegro. Talking about myself isn't something I usually do, but for the sake of the new people coming on board, I am, started out in film and music, ended up doing that for over 25 years, ended up having a film production company that produced a lot of movies, TV commercials, music videos, things of that nature. And which led me into, after a while, I've always been a big cannabis advocate, and kind of led me into the industry in 2008 in Colorado. And while still working my film job, I started to get involved in the cannabis industry and breeding, the growing aspect of it. We ended up having quite a career in that, managed multi-million-dollar grows where we, did 1 year we did 219,000 clones with a 98% success rate, from seedling to soil and to success rate out in the field. Ended up winning an award for Best CBD Farmer 2018 nationwide because of those efforts. Consulted cannabis and hemp for multiple governments and large multi-billion-dollar companies over my career. I started trading cryptocurrency, and out of necessity for a payment solution for hemp, saw my new love for cryptocurrency as an opportunity to develop some payment solutions that were blockchain based. And so out of necessity, we started to develop the parameters of Wegro and how it could benefit the holder, as opposed to typically just benefiting a small group of people. Now it could benefit everyone, which led to the development with Wegro and the wonderful partners that now make it up. So what started off as something small has now grown into a very large effort with some amazing people from all walks of industry, and just very fortunate and happy to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. Rick, you want to give us a little bit of look into your background?
Sure. Just like Sean, it's the same thing. I have a rough time talking about my background, only because it could take up the hour sometimes. But for those people that know me, a lot of my entrance into this industry started, 8 years ago. I'm one of the co-founders of New Frontier Data, which is one of the preeminent big data aggregators in the legal cannabis industry. Prior to that, though, I'd actually been a management consultant and had been an entrepreneur that had multiple exits over the course of the last 25 years. My background's been in Marcom, it's been in big data, it's been in now blockchain as well. And we're applying a little bit more than just the cannabis industry. We're looking at a much broader industry now, and taking the breadth and scope from everybody's backgrounds and bringing together a real stellar team to put forth a new solution and not just a token out there. So just a little bit about around that background, but I don't want to take away from the fact that we've got an amazing support team behind us that's not on this call tonight. We've got a master in engineering and computer science, PhD behind us. We've got tremendous people, the former co-founder of Android, that's a part of our executive team as well. The people are very long in scope and experience. I'm excited to have them all part of what we're building today.
Thank you, Rick. That's a great breadth of your background, and also good to touch on some of the other team members. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are making up the team at Wegro that aren't on the call tonight. So thank you for acknowledging them. And to Rick's point, we've got some stellar, quite frankly, really incredible individuals, both in the heart and soul that they have individually, but additionally the knowledge base that they're drawing from and their expertise. So now that you understand a little bit about the team at Wegro, because I think it was important that we touch on that, let me tell you a little bit about who Wegro is and what we offer. So Wegro is conceivably the first opportunity for people to partake in the ever-growing cannabis industry. We focus specifically on the cannabis supply chain. So holders of Wegro have a number of different benefits by being a part of our ecosystem. For starters, we have some very unique tokenomics. With that, I'm actually going to pass the mic back to Sean to talk about those tokenomics. And it's within these tokenomics that we really start to show exactly how we are involved, at least initially, with the cannabis industry. And as Rick alluded to, the applicability of what we're building here can traverse many industries. And so we're very excited about the team that we're assembling to be able to take it to all those other areas. But before I go further, let me pass the mic to Sean to talk about our tokenomics and explain how Wegro is a part of the cannabis supply chain.
Yep. Thank you again, Walt. When Wegro first started out, we forged a token where people would receive reflections for every transaction that was done in the form of Wegro tokens. We decided to pivot from that because a better option was available to us. And through our relationship with Justin and the Defiant team, we forged a new token that gave back reflections in the form of Smart Chain BNB, which eliminates a lot of the downward selling pressure that people will get when they receive their tokens in Wegro. They might want to sell those tokens off. They might want to reinvest them. But this way they have the option to do that without that negative selling pressure on Wegro. And then obviously people buying back into Wegro using the Smart Chain BNB it really just alleviates any when tokens clear the router and go out to everyone, it'll alleviate a lot of that pressure, because people can buy back in. And that's what a lot of people have done, myself included. There's a 8% total fee for crypto to crypto transactions. 5% of that is redistributed to all the holders of Wegro in the form of Smart Chain BNB. 1% automatically goes to liquidity on PancakeSwap, raising the relative price floor. And then the remaining 2% is we collect the 2% reflections in the form of Smart Chain BNB, where we buy cannabis supply chain businesses like point of sale systems, data aggregate companies, and we
buy the picks and axes.
Yeah, the picks and axes is right. And so by us expanding the ecosystem and creating more data, more transactions through volume, it benefits the holder more than just static reflections alone. So it's a device in which we use to amplify the amount of rewards that the holder can see. So the 2% is is one of those things that allows us to expand the ecosystem, increase the amount of data coming in, and thus increase the possible revenue that we can put back into liquidity at Wegro, which is what we do with 100% of the profits, as well as settling transactions anywhere that we can with Wegro to raise volume and relative price floor.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. You know, it's that 2% that really is what, well, the 2% distinguishes us in many ways, but so does our reflections. You know, there's not many people that have the tokenomics that we do. But it's that 2% that is really where we start to expand, and where you start to see the lengthy roadmap that Wegro has in front of us. If you get a chance, please check out our website, wegrowcoin.com. And to that point, we have our light paper on the website, which goes into more detail about everything we're talking about tonight. Additionally, we have more information about our founders and the members of our team. As well, we also have information about the partnerships that we're beginning to form throughout the cannabis supply chain. And additionally, we start to talk about a little bit about our roadmap and where we're headed moving forward. And so with that, I think it might be opportune for us to talk a little bit about the future of Wegro, because it's that 2% that really changes the dynamics of where we sit. As Rachel had alluded to early on in this AMA, there's a very small percentage of all cryptocurrencies or tokens that are released every year that have any true utility behind them. And that's really where we wanted to distinguish ourselves. And it was with that utility that the 2% came into play, and trying to build our ecosystem to benefit our holders. And so in understanding that 2%, there's some interesting things that we're doing that I'm going to have Rick talk about and tell us a little bit about the future of Wegro and where we're headed.
I don't know if that was a handoff to me or Rachel, but I was actually thinking that this might actually be a good point to talk about that roadmap as it relates to the last week alone. You know, we talked about the reflections. We talked about the fact that we're modifying things as we're going along. And for those that didn't know, we had a big fork, you know, and I know that there were a lot of questions around that, especially as it related to the reason why we're doing reflections in the first place. And the fact of the matter is the old token wasn't suited to the overall ecosystem. And I love it if, Justin, you could explain a little bit more about how that changed with the fork and why we're now with this the new security features and the programming that we put in place.
Yeah, and without giving, I guess, away the secret sauce as far as the security upgrades that we did to the token, one of the biggest changes that we did during the fork was to make it so that everybody now will see reflections over time, even if you're only holding one token. Whereas before, based on the amount of supply we had 8.4 billion tokens. It was the total supply. We had minimum you had to hold was 100,000 tokens to be able to see any reflections. Otherwise, the reflections that you would have been getting at that low of a supply of the overall total supply, you really weren't going to be getting much of anything, and it was probably going to just get burnt up in those transactions. But now that we've done some major burns, we burnt 1 billion tokens on New Year's Eve. Now that supply is coming down, and as future revenue injections go into the coin and burn those tokens, we did 75 BNB worth of buybacks and burns just the other day, leading up to the fork. As that supply comes down, now those smaller token holders, their tokens won't be getting burnt in the reflections. So again, that was one of the major enhancements as far as for the token holders. But in the background too, we made some enhancements to the token to be able to work with some of the payment processors that we're dealing with, and to make this token be really used for that utility as a payment solution. So that's really the reason why we did the fork. And we made a conscious decision to do it now rather than wait 2, 3, 4 months down the line to make those security enhancements, because it's tougher to do that when you have more holders. And so we said, let's do it when we have 700 or 800 holders rather than 7,000 or 8,000. And so that was the reasoning behind it.
Thank you, Justin. And Rick, do you want to continue on talking about our roadmap?
Sure. So the reality is that there was a great idea, and we knew that there were other problems that we could solve with this initial idea. And the reality is that, we were looking at not only just the cannabis industry, but the overall complementary and alternative medicine industry. It's an enormous industry out there. It's akin with the low-cost sector itself. Looking at that, you've got a $2.72 trillion market out there. And the reality is that there were issues around transactional processing, the availability of data, the accessibility, the security, the fragmentation, the inconsistency, and the attached cost associated with businesses doing transactions on or off the blockchain, but also being able to capture that data. And looking at the overall fact that data is a true industry right now. When you're using Facebook and you're using Google and Amazon, you are also the product of those companies. We know that our data is extremely valuable. Whether it starts off at that quarter of a cent, just knowing that you exist, or when you start layering that on to what you do on a daily basis, the transactions that you transact, your health, the data around your e-commerce, much less your retail interactions. Over time, even just looking at the top 270 data brokers out there, if one person were to license their data directly to those 270 brokers, that value is over $111,000 per year. And that's one of those areas in which we are attempting to democratize your data, give it back to you, and create this opportunity to use your data for not only utility, but for also monetization. So what we did was we actually created a roadmap around creating a true blockchain ecosystem, a synthetic, ubiquitous blockchain built on a hyperledger. This will allow for permissive data sharing. This means that the data itself will be highly anonymized, yet still personalized. This starts off with using multiple protocols that allow you to actually interact and use this for true utility. I like using this use case pretty often, but even today, you could store your data on your vaccinations and your negative COVID test on the blockchain. You could then open that and allow certain entities to be able to view and verify that, also using zero knowledge protocol. And that was one of the questions we had last week of whether or not we will be using zero knowledge protocol for verifications for unknown data. And that is something that we will be using to be able to speed up our network to allow for this kind of verification. So at this point, this is already something that's been tested in Germany, where somebody can actually store their data on the blockchain, open it for utility for, let's say, the airport authority. They see that you've been vaccinated, you've got a negative COVID test in the last 24 hours, that carries with you through your entire travel itinerary, and then you close it. That is a utility for sharing your data. Now, at the same time, you could actually open up various applications within this data to say, I'm willing to license and share my data. And now you can be monetized in the form of Wegro tokens for sharing or licensing your own data, putting the power of your data back in your own pocket and monetizing that over time. Now, it's just a small portion of our roadmap, but what it's allowing us to do is to build on bolt-on and add-on features that also will allow you to buy decentralized alternative tokens in a much more consumable fashion. We know how hard it is to buy Wegro, but it's also really hard to buy a lot of other alternative and other coins that are not on these centralized exchanges. So one of our first phases is to actually build a way for you to actually buy these tokens in a more familiar and safer process, and you feel much more confident in how you're purchasing this. The second is being able to create a digital wallet that you'll be able to use to transact at point of sale. And not to go too deep into that, but that transaction will allow you to use anything from Visa and MasterCard or crypto to make purchases on e-commerce and direct retail. This is a lot of data that's associated with each one of these transactions. And because of that, we're creating that multi-layered data set. Going into our phase 3, we're also now talking about a natural track and trace system. This is anything from tracking import-export, anti-counterfeiting, anti-money laundering, all of these programs right now that are very cumbersome when they're built on relational databases. Because one thing we know is that relational databases only allow for net effect. Net effect means that it's easily manipulated and you don't necessarily see the provenance for the final data that's actually presented in a relational database. So in blockchain, if you're not familiar with this, you're always adding data. You're not changing data. It is an immutable data record. So in the blockchain, you're seeing line by line everything that's added to it. So whether that's at point of sale and you're correcting something versus changing something, or you're looking on supply chain for things like inventory or transporting product from country to country, much less state to state, you have a system of accountability between all the players. And last but not least, in our now I'm not going to say our final phase, but what's scoped currently for this current year is an ability to have a black box system that connects companies that would normally never talk to each other, allowing you to verify data between consumers and businesses over a longer term and a longer scale for our value chain. And that's just a little bit of the roadmap that we have scoped out for the next 12 to 18 months. And that's all in conjunction with one of our partners, Kiwi Tech, which I've got to give major props to for kicking us off on such an accelerated manner.
That's pretty comprehensive, Rick, and it's very expansive. And for our audience, I'm seeing a lot of questions popping up in social media about what are the first steps? Who are the first industries? Who are the first players to take advantage of this rollout?
Well, I would say like maybe I'll just jump in just to piggyback off one of the things that Rick said that I thought was really great is talking about one of the technologies that we're building is this ability to get into coins easier. So this is something that's not just going to change how you can purchase Wegro, but it's technology that we're going to be able to then lease out to other tokens. I've already had projects reaching out to us saying, when that's developed, can we use that as well? And sure, we'll sell it to them for a fee. You know, with crypto, especially in this altcoin space, whether it's on the Ethereum side or on the BSC side, they're not easily, it's not easy for new people to get into this space and understand how to buy something. It's not just like a one-click thing. People are having issues with their bank denying transactions. If you're trying to get BNB, 7 states don't allow Binance in the United States. So there's a lot of barriers to entry to get into it. So having that ability to eliminate all of that middleman essentially, and maybe even lower your fees potentially in the process is going to be a game changer. And so that's one of the solutions that we're building. And I think that probably is the one that will come the quickest just because we're already in the works of building that technology out. So that's coming. And again, we have so many people are asking like how to buy, how do I get this? And I got to swap this token and then do this and that. Like there's a lot of steps to do that. And there's that barrier to entry. And that cure is coming and it's going to be here soon, which will make it a lot easier for you to buy Wegro. But again, like I said, this will be industry changing because it'll help you to be able to buy any token, not just ours. And so other tokens are going to be coming to us shortly to be able to lease that technology out. And I know that for a fact because I've already had multiple projects asking for it and saying when it's ready, how can we get this?
You bring up a really great point, Justin. I get a lot of placeholders and a lot of folks that are looking to dive into this industry. And they ask me all the time, Todd, what really differentiates Wegro? Are there other companies doing what we're doing? And if you had to look at what we're doing versus the rest of the marketplace, is there anybody that mirrors what Wegro is doing? Or do you feel like we're the only one?
Oh, I would say,
frank, I'm trying to take an an objective point of view, as much as that, it probably doesn't sound very non-biased, but
A lot of other tokens will try to eliminate the steps to make it easier, where they'll have a link on their button, like a button link on their website where it says buy now. And when you click it, it takes you to Pancake Swap, and then you still have to connect your wallet, and you got to have BNB to swap it to Smart Chain to get to your token. Like, that's all going to get eliminated in this process. Nobody else is doing that. That's just
I think this is a mic drop moment. Like, bye everybody. Nice to see you. That's huge for all of us out there. Like, I see it on Facebook. I'm one of them who's like, I'm confused. That's huge. Thank you a lot.
This was actually born out of the fact that we wanted to offer a white glove service for a lot of people that wanted to come in when we first started this. And they said, we have no idea how to do it. Well, we have team members literally walking through this with them on Zooms, on phone calls, helping them to figure out how to buy and do this. For some people, we actually had to do it for them physically because they were either too afraid to do it. They didn't know how to do it. They didn't even understand what a digital wallet was, much less how do I store or have that wallet? We shipped out, 3 dozen Kindles preloaded with the wallets because that's how hard it was for a lot of people. So we recognized this immediately, and we're like, well, listen, if we're having this problem and we have people that want to, be part of what we're building right now, they can't be the only ones. So it's much like how Slack was born, because Slack was an internal gap issue that was solved for a company that's now an entire new company. We're building a product that's going to help us, but it's going to help the industry on whole.
And Rick, that's a great point you're making. Now, please help clarify for our audience, is the charter and the industry at this point considered mainstream in the way that Wegro has entered into it? And if not, when do you think it becomes absolutely mainstream?
That's definitely a Sean and Justin question. I've got my own opinions though.
Well, and if I can jump in here, this is probably a good opportunity to put a spotlight or a flashlight in some respects on some of the recent occurrences in and around our industry, because I think it speaks to potentially the future when that will occur. For many people, crypto and even the blockchain world is a second language, a foreign language. It's completely something nebulous that they're unsure of. That's rapidly changing, and you're starting to see some of the nuances of the world moving towards a digital economy. Just even through the pandemic, you saw go into Chick-fil-A and you can't use quarters anymore, or you go to the 7-Eleven and they don't have any dimes. You're starting to see some of the occurrences of the major government starting to dwindle the actual coinage in supply. It's all in preparation for the world, the global economy moving to a digital format. That said, something happened just yesterday that was pretty monumental for the industry. India legalized cryptocurrency and put into place some interesting tokenomics as a country that in many ways may set the standard for the global economy. Understanding that India has conceivably one of the top 3 populations in the world, having its citizens interacting and exchanging and doing commerce with the use of digital currencies is a major step in the direction of making blockchain / cryptocurrency more mainstream for the world at large. And some of the challenges around the industry also come in the form, specifically for us here in the United States, with how do I report this on my taxes? How do I do this legitimately? Understanding for so long, this has been in many eyes a gray market or a black market or an unknown market. Let's put it that way. How do I report this on my taxes? What are the things that I need to be aware of? And there really hasn't been a whole lot of guidance from the IRS in that regard. Just yesterday, a ruling was handed down from, so I don't misquote this, IRS offers Tezos staker refund on rewards tax and break from current policy. The long story short, the Cliff Notes version of the article essentially was that 2 individuals who owned Tezos, or actually were staking against Tezos, argued that their staking shouldn't have been taxed, and that until they actually sold the shares that they held in staking and realized an actual profit or revenue from it, that they shouldn't have been taxed on it. And that was a major windfall, in that the IRS basically agreed with them and decided they were going to ship them back roughly $3,000 to make good on it. Well, the two individuals, the husband and wife that were named in this case, specifically said, nope, we're happy you're acknowledging that there's a discrepancy here, but we don't want the money. We want the answers. And so they pushed back and are now asking for the IRS to provide guidelines, thankfully, for the industry. So all these are very promising indicators that the future is coming in the form of digital currencies, and the future of those currencies and those that are going to have some longevity are specifically in those that have the utility. So I thought it was apropos that we put a light on specifically some of the things in the world that are showing, hey, this is where things are heading. But more specifically, if I want to, I'm going to hand the mic back over to Justin, because I see him chomping at the bit. He's got some things to say on this topic as well.
Well, that's major validation, Walt. I mean, major.
I was going to just echo that by saying this is the reason why you're seeing, and it sometimes spooks the market a little bit. You're seeing countries like China and Russia talking about making their own like national communist cryptocurrency, because they realize the ease of use with crypto it's a lot easier. There's a reason why a lot of the financial firms, like I think Goldman Sachs is one of like the biggest traders of Bitcoin on a daily basis, because they're able to send funds across the world to their other locations instantly and not have to worry about currency, manipulation or transactions, and just change it in the dollar. And so anybody who says that crypto is, because they've maybe seen a retrace on Bitcoin and Ethereum that, maybe the boom is over. Like, I actually think it's the opposite. I think, there's a lot of things that are spooking people just in just the traditional markets and in the crypto markets. But there's a reason why governments are trying to get into this space, because governments want their hand in the cookie jar. That's essentially it. They want their piece of the pie. And if they can control it by making their own cryptocurrency and essentially banning the other ones, well, then they can tax it efficiently and they can put those rules and regulations around it. Because like you said, right now, it's kind of that gray area, like, how do I pay taxes only on the money that I cash out into my bank account, or is every single buy or sell transaction considered a taxable event? And there's a lot of, I've spoken with, again, guys who worked for the IRS who have retired, and they're still unsure about really the rules and regulations around it. Like last year, the only thing on your tax return was just check a box saying you did a crypto transaction. It didn't ask you about any of the details. The government's just trying to compile a data set of like who's actually investing in this stuff. But a lot of money is funneling from the traditional world into this space for a lot of different reasons.
So if you look at the newbies, or those that have skepticism, Justin, have misperceptions, help our audience today talk about or understand what those misperceptions are and how to better think about it. What would you say to those folks?
Yeah, so I guess if you go back to like when Bitcoin first came out, because they were, essentially one of the first ones, everybody thought that it was being used on like Silk Road and then the dark web, paying for, smuggling drugs and other nefarious things. And that was the only use for it, was just like the secret underground club where people were doing bad things with it. Until people realized like this is actually something that solves a problem for a lot of different reasons. I have friends who, for instance, they came from other countries to come work in the United States, and they send money back to their families instantly, whereas they wouldn't be able to send over, different countries have different laws, but in his particular country, you can only send back $10,000 a year in United States cash. You can't send more than that in a transaction. Well, he makes a really good amount of money for the job that he's in, and he sends back hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he sends it through crypto because their country, for example, doesn't even tax crypto. So he's able to help his family out. So there's a lot of different use cases, and we're starting to see more and more of those, not only just as a currency, a store of value, and again, a lot of these utilities that you're seeing, come into the industry.
That's really edifying. And Rachel and I hear a lot about solving problems. You talked about solving problems, Justin, and Rick commented on earlier about the way that Wegro can solve problems. And so Sean, Walt, and Rick, maybe if you could help edify the rest of our audience, and how does Wegro solve problems for the greater good out there beyond just a placeholder who's looking at obviously improving his portfolio? Where are we solving problems, and what does that roadmap look like today?
Well, maybe I could just start with a basic
Please,
level.
Sean, that'd be great.
Yeah. So, on a very basic level, just, from a cryptocurrency standpoint, is it really necessary to build a bank where the bricks are made in Pennsylvania, the concrete's made in Illinois, the computers made in China, designed in California, the chairs made in Sweden, and, so on and so forth? Is it really necessary for that person to get in their car and drive in, burn fossil fuel on a building that took a lot of energy to make as well, to send a transaction for a good amount of money that it would cost to do that, and to have it received on the other end? Or can a smart contract accomplish all these things without any of that? And that's exactly what cryptocurrency does. That's exactly what Wegro does. And we're using that as a platform to do so much more. And that's where I'll let Rick take over, and specifically how Wegro looks to really break the mold on what cryptocurrencies can do.
Yeah, I appreciate that lead in, Sean. We got to kind of separate two things. We got to separate the fact that we have Wegro coin, or the token, a token that takes on the security features for, smart chain. And then we've got Wegro data. And this is where we're looking at the longer term ecosystem and applying it to the problems that we've had, for a long time. And it's not just in, the recent changes with technology or the way people are transacting. We're looking at things like, potentially solving universal basic income. If you were to take the theoretical holding of $6 of our token in a wallet in an underdeveloped country on our ecosystem, where we're talking about the reflections that are being redistributed, the reflections coming in as BNB over time, even without reinvesting that in Wegro, in underdeveloped countries, that is enough for people to put food on the table, to put gas in their engine, to solve for the basic nuances of being able to have a life. And that started off with $6 of Wegro coin. You amplify that and bring in charitable organizations. You look at what I believe is a very broken EBT system or food stamp program. Mm-hmm. And instead of giving people money to buy food, you give them money to build wealth. That's what Wegro can actually accomplish. That's one problem that we know, but based upon the token that we built today, not the one that we're scoping out, not the one that's going to be part of our own blockchain, but that's something that we're solving for right now. Rachel.
I see Rachel. Yeah.
Have you chosen the charities yet? Can you talk about them? And then I can't help myself. Can you please talk about how only 7% of the 7,000 applicants for cryptocurrency last year actually have assets behind them? Like, I want to keep bouncing on that because it's huge. Like, it's not just like a Beanie Baby craze. That's why I'm sitting in this chair. It's not a Beanie Baby. So help us understand how the data pays for charitable stuff. And if you know which charities you're going to support, what are they?
Well, I'm gonna let Sean take that one because I know how proud he is of this.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I'm definitely proud of this. Something that speaks to my heart, something that so recently we just acquired Charity Token. And the some of the people over there are helping us lead up our We Give program, which is getting ready to make its first donation to the Hoffa Foundation, which is a nonprofit based out of Maryland that directly supports the recovery of former addicts to help them get back on their feet. This is such a wonderful company that has given back so much. They have a house where they have former addicts or people who are looking to get their lives back together, back on their feet. They are changing the world through coffee. Believe it or not, they have coffee all over the place in Maryland, and this fuels the house that they have, as well as it's like a food truck, but it's a coffee truck where the people there getting their lives back together, getting back on their feet, have a place to work and have a place to re-engage back into society. And the work that they've done has been phenomenal. And through our acquisition and partnership with Charity, we are able to give them our first donation of roughly about $5,000 that we're giving back there. And it makes me very proud and very happy to do that to such a wonderful cause, and just the first of many.
Terrific.
Fantastic.
If I can touch on that for just a moment. When we started looking at our community, there was a lot of input about the altruism that is recognized or represented by Wegro. In many ways, the start of the company was altruistic in nature. We wanted to help our friends out and have a little bit of green in both pockets. And that heart and soul has transpired through everything that we do. As you could hear, we're hoping to potentially solve real world problems like universal basic income and many others, specific to cannabis and specific to other industries. And understanding that, this heart, the soul that comes through the company is a big portion of who we are. And so understanding how big this was for us, we wanted to make sure we did it correctly. We wanted to make sure we had the pros involved with us. So we had already partnered with Charity and had been working with them to solidify our nonprofit side of our business. And it only made sense when we started talking with them further to bring them 100% into the fold and make them a part of the Wegro family, to have that kind of reach and expertise in-house, to really carry that heart through to the community. It was you can hear it in Sean's voice. We were very excited about that. It was again part of the impetus for starting this. I'll shut up now. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew this is a big piece for us, and we're very proud of it.
No, it's huge, Walt. It's one of the things that inspires me to be a part of the organization, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. So you never shut up about that. I want to talk about the future. I'm just going to keep us honest here. We have 8 minutes to go, and we have a lot of forward momentum going on several fronts: marketing initiatives and new partnerships. And one of the things that helps drive our awareness and drive the visibility of Wegro is what's going to be a very robust ambassador program. And I'm really honored to really put Rachel in the spotlight. She is our general manager of the ambassador program. And Rachel, if you don't mind talking about the social media engine, the many lieutenants and captains you have recruited, and the significant impact that an ambassador program can have on an organization like Wegro. If you could edify us, that'd be great.
Yeah, and thank you for everyone who's been patient, because I get emails a lot going like, where is it, Rachel? And Walt started off with something I hadn't really thought about. I also come from 20 years of IT sales. So I'm like an ex-corporate person. So whether I want to or not, it's been drilled into me to do process-driven things. So I didn't just create a spreadsheet and go like, I hope my favorite person wins this contest I'm putting together. we actually hired a social media company and created a whole program with them. So it's kind of a bigger deal than maybe, than just signing up on a, spreadsheet. But I'm very excited about what they're building. I've chosen a small group to start with. And the reason we started small was I want them to be able to test, kind of a pressure test the different things we're trying. And I fully believe that someone's going to go like, in this summer, I could totally see a contest saying like, if you're wearing your Wegro t-shirt that you already won doing something else amazing, and you show us a picture of being somewhere amazing in it, you will be in a drawing. Or, hey, you know about a cryptocurrency show, you're there and you're wearing your Wegro shirt, like you should get credit for that. We're just getting our ball rolling. So before we invested in all kinds of stuff that like 2 out of the 10 would have stuck. I started very conservatively as far as action so we could measure. And once we see what works, we're just gonna like throw the doors wide open. Everyone can be part of it. We're launching it February 15th. And again, you'll see an official invitation. This is not a like, hey, you're on a spreadsheet. My favorite guy, did something funny, he wins. No, this is official. And the stuff we're trying to do is to create long-time and long-term connection. So if you are one of my original ambassadors, you got an email today. It's like, yeah, we should be like a little club. We should know each other. I'm not hiding who everyone is from each other because I want them to say like, oh my gosh, how weird. You're in crypto. I'm in cannabis. I'm an IT person. We all come from different walks. And that was one of the reasons I chose this small group. That doesn't mean if you were dying and you're like, I didn't get email, don't feel sad. We will continuously add people. And I think as the program grows, even over the next month or two, as we test, it will only be better. So if you do want to be considered, are we using info@wegrowcoin.com, Todd? Yes, everyone's nodding. So
we are in fact.
Yeah. So, and we'll try to put a few more social posts out, but just look for that. I think you will be surprised and impressed that we're able to track exactly what you've done, who you've talked to, a lot of data around you. How did that happen? But yeah, it's all good. I'm excited. And I have to say, what a talented group. I know that I am sitting here with you, like including myself, but you guys, I love that you introduce who you are and what your background is, because I think we forget that people don't know that we actually had grown-up jobs. And this isn't us just like having an adventure. We actually are business people who know how to execute. Great team. Nice job.
Thank you, Rachel. And to be clear, if someone wants to get involved today, Rachel, how do they get involved?
They should email info@wegrowcoin.com and just say, I want to be part of the ambassador program, or I want to be part of it. Whatever you think to say, I'll know what it is. And as I said, around February 15th, you will receive something, and I don't even know, it might come from Social Toaster. You'll know before then. That just says sign up here. And it will ask you a few questions about like, hey, do you even have any Wegro? If you do, where do you live? Like stuff that helps us track who's who on the planet, and then who you've referred and what you've done. And we can measure all of it using an actual algorithm that this company uses. So it's like a legit thing.
Excellent, excellent. And I know we have many feeds tonight, and we're on a multi-platforms in social media tonight. And Walt, who heads up our marketing efforts across the board, Walt, can you share with our audience and anybody that's new, what are the different social channels? Talk to us about where we're being seen right now from all over the world.
Okay, let me start by taking, I'm off of mute. Okay, good. We are live on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram. I think I'm catching all of them. I think that's everybody.
YouTube?
Are we YouTube?
No, not YouTube yet. Our recordings are on YouTube, but we're not live on YouTube.
Great, thank you. That's helpful. And what are some of the new opportunities down the road, Walt? Are you seeing opportunities with other organizations that you might want to hint about? I know we can't talk about things until they're inked, but what are some of the exciting things happening down the road?
Yeah, to Todd's point, there's not a whole lot we can disclose, but we will try and give you at least the top line to give you some great information about where we're headed. We've alluded to some of them. We've talked a little bit about some of our partnerships that we have in play today. But But very specifically, if you want to find out more about our partnerships, those that have been solidified are listed on our website. So you're going to see a few of them that are already on our website. And they are the ones that are making up the initial aspects of our ecosystem. So when you start asking questions about what types of data go within our ecosystem, it's those organizations and the data that's controlled within them that are going to be a part of our ecosystem. And so you're going to start to see, again, cannabis supply chain type businesses, at least initially, because that's our focus initially. Our whole thought was, okay, this is an industry that all of us have some really solid experience in. If we can tackle these problems for this, one of the most challenging of industries, we can tackle these problems for the rest of the industries. So understanding that, we have a medical journaling app, a company called Tetragram that is part of our ecosystem. We have a point of sale company that I'm not going to mention names about yet, but they are joining our fold very soon. We have a number of other organizations that are talking with us right now, from transportation and logistics companies to consumption lounges, to nutrient suppliers, to and the list goes on. The understanding is that within our ecosystem, there's going to be an immense amount of knowledge that's going to be able to inform the top to bottom the cannabis supply chain. If we're to take just Tetragram, the medical journaling app, and look at just the data contained within it, inside it tells it will paint a picture of what types of strains are working for people, what ailments those strains are working against, and what regions of the country those strains are being most proportionately purchased because of those ailments. Metaphorically speaking, that would help inform the nutrient supplier at the very beginning of the supply chain to supply the proper nutrients for those strains that are being sold for those ailments. So inside our ecosystem, lots of people are trying to jump in because they already see the value that we're creating and what it'll eventually allow the industry to do. In some ways, what this also does is it will force some other conversations to happen. And to what Rick was talking about, track and trace is a conversation we're having right now. I can't get into specifics about that. But in those conversations, it's forcing change in some areas that are very distinctly challenges for the cannabis industry. There is a unique challenge in standardization of testing that is a global challenge in cannabis and hemp right now. And the confines of our ecosystem, if you understand blockchain, as to what Rick was noting earlier, it's much different than a traditional database structure, in that the details that are contained within it are immutable. And in doing so, it provides a purview like no other type of system, and allows insight in ways that other systems do not. But to the functionality that exists there, it's important that whatever information goes in is accurate. And so understanding the accuracy of information going into the system is paramount and very important. It's going to force, in some ways, the standardization across the industry, because we're going to need that in order to be able to transact properly. So talking at a high level about some of these things, it can kind of give you an inkling as to where we're headed. Additionally, we're very much focused on solving some real world problems. We talked a little bit about universal basic income, but very specifically talking about the cannabis supply chain, we're going to have some very interesting financial applications for the cannabis supply chain. Rick talked about them briefly with talking about how the ability to transact on Visa and MasterCard rails and in crypto. We're looking at that ability not just across traditional channels, but also within the cannabis supply chain, which is a big challenge right now for the industry, if you understand anything about banking within cannabis. So again, without getting into very specifics, we have a lot on our roadmap that we're already tackling. We're already talking with these partners. We're already lining up these relationships. And there's an extensive future in front of us. And I see Rick looking like he wants to say something.
Well, the thing is, we're talking about all the things we're going to do. One thing we haven't talked about is what we've already done. And one of the things that's already done is the Hyperledger. Okay. First and foremost, we're not starting off tomorrow. We're not starting in a month. We've already accomplished a lot. We already have 3 applications that are going to be launching in the next 6 weeks outside of what we're currently developing with Kiwi Tech. We have a reporting system that does geospatial monitoring, for the acquisition of a lot of our data. Again, with full transparency to both businesses and to consumers. We have a system that's going to be able to utilize actual marketing insights on top of this for the data collection and aggregation systems that are already developed. We have these software intellectual properties that are going to be rapidly deployed over the next 6 to 8 weeks that will be in place, that are already going to be collecting that data, helping us to make more informed decisions and engage on a much higher level with the partners that we're bringing on right now. So I want to make sure that everybody realizes that in the last, since September, October timeframe, we've actually accomplished a lot up to this point. So we're all the way down. We're already into our roadmap. We've accomplished a lot at this point, and now it's about the those two roads of the token and the data side coming together now and kind of moving forward.
Really exciting stuff. I mean, the impact we're making on the world. How can you not be excited, everybody?
Right. Sorry to
amazing.
interrupt you, Todd, but I want to ask, so we should be thinking of this more like a long-term stock investment, not your typical Bitcoin traditional pump and dump. Like yours meant to hang out.
We got to separate that for a second here, okay? The token and the data side are different things.
Mhm.
They absolutely 100%. We were talking about Wegro data, and Wegro data does own Wegro coin. Okay, that is a fully owned asset of Wegro data. I get really scared when I hear the word investment. Okay, but being part of the token is something where you are holding on to that token because it's paying you back. It's incentivizing you. Even if you look at what we're putting together for our debit card programs, you're going to be incentivized to hold and use this on a transactional level. I just want to make sure that's very clear right up front. On the long-term viability, think of us very similar to how, put it this way. Amazon started selling books out of a garage. We're a little bit further than that, but think about where they've come in the last, 15 years. So that's how you got to look at us, but we brought in people that have had market success and created companies. And in some cases, some people have created empires and operating systems that you're using every day that are part of this system. And so that's where I would probably really emphasize the fact that this is just the tip of the spear of where we're going.
Thanks for that clarification, Rick. It's very helpful. We're almost out of time here. I'm going to ask everybody final thoughts. Justin, what's a singular thought that you have when it comes to Wegro, the future? A single thought, and we're going to go around the room and
it's tough to narrow it down to just one single thought, but I would say it's really going to revolutionize this industry, this space that we're in. That it's a token that is going to have multiple streams of revenue pumping back into it once these businesses come online and this different tech that comes out. And it's not going to be something that you have to wait a year or 2 years. Like we're talking weeks for some of this stuff coming down the pipeline. So what I would tell our holders is just get ready, because there's going to be some injections coming down the pipeline at some point, which is going to give you that help and support to enhance your position that you're in. So I'm excited and again, I'm chomping at the bit. Like I want to release the details on some of the stuff, but I know we can't just yet.
Right.
But it's really cool tech that they're building.
Thank you, Justin. Sean Crawford, our president. Final thoughts, sir.
Just hey guys, this is cryptocurrency. I know the market's been all kind of down a little bit lately, and low volume and normal things that happen when people kind of pull out of crypto for a minute. Not a financial advisor, so please don't take this as financial advice. But I've watched the market go to this point, and I've watched it go full on again. So it's just this is pretty typical. We're holding true, and if you notice, there's just a lot of people that are holding on to this coin and honestly, I believe that they're probably holding on to it for the future utility. I personally keep buying back into it because I believe in it as well. So I hope, I'm just really thankful for all the holders out there and for the community, and just way to go, guys. And we're going to do this together. So thanks again.
Thank you, Sean. And Mr. Gilchrist, your final thought.
I think I've hogged the mic well enough tonight, but I'm going to say this. This wouldn't be built without the team that's part of this. We are very fortunate, the people, the intellectual capital that we brought underneath this umbrella. It's not just the 6 of us that, are on here right now. It's a big team. We are fortunate. We have an enormous team out in Copenhagen. We've got an amazing DevOps team, split between India and the US. We've got people that are building behind the scenes, and you're seeing just a sliver of what we're doing right now. And that's why it's exciting to watch this happen and have it roll out. I'll leave it at the fact that we're an iceberg. You're just seeing the tip of the mass that's below what we've been building right now.
So like Spinal Tap, our AMP goes to 11. Walt, final thoughts, Walt.
That's a great lead in, Todd.
Do it.
Here's my final thoughts. Since becoming involved with this team, with this project, and seeing all the amazing things that we're doing, what's telling to me is to Rick's point, the team that we have assembled, we've got some serious rock stars on this team, straight up. And to that point, some of them have come out of retirement to work with us. I'm going to point to Justin on my screen. We pulled him out of retirement. The pointing fingers, it's the Brady Bunch,
right?
Right. Yeah. But we pulled Justin out of retirement. I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but we're blessed to have the founder of Android on our team. And let's just say he doesn't have to necessarily work for a living. So not making any suppositions about him, but let's just say that we've gotten some people that come on board to our team that in many ways you never would have thought would have jumped. But once they started to hear about the project, once they started to understand the dynamics of what we're creating, the future longevity, the impact to the world, the impact to change lives, Justin wanted to know how quickly he could sign up.
Yeah,
so for me,
sure.
that's telling. I'll pass the mic back to. I want Justin to tell this story because I think it's a good closing thought.
Exactly.
Yeah, I met Sean while I was knee deep in a project that was a behemoth at the time. And when I left, the first person who called me when I left that project was Sean. And I said, dude, I'm burnt out. I need to spend some time with the family. I booked a trip for my fiance, my brother, and his girlfriend, and we went to Hawaii. I'm like, I just need to get away. I said, but when I come back, I'll at least have a conversation with you. I'm like, I'm probably going to say no to jumping on to anything, but maybe I'll be an investor. If I like the idea. And so I sat with him and Walt, and we probably talked for about a good hour and a half. And at the end of it, I said, okay, how do I sign up? This is pretty cool. And it just made sense, because at the time, there was no other tokens doing anything like this that were building actual businesses behind it, supporting the token and vice versa. It was unheard of. And now I've taken that idea, and any projects that I kind of work on, which is my platform too, they all have to have something similar to that. They have to have a revenue stream essentially that could help support the token. They have to have a utility. It's got to be functional. It can't be just about who can I get to tweet about me and post something on Instagram, which celebrity can I pay to do that? It's a totally different model in the industry. And again, my background, for people who don't know, I was a financial advisor for 13 and a half years. And again, this is not giving you financial advice per se, but I come from that traditional world where you tell your clients to invest in something that has a value proposition behind it. Like Apple, the reason why you invest in Apple is because they're going to make another iPhone every day, and they're going to have, that's their profit, that's their product. This has products behind it. It has, that value proposition. It's not just a meme coin. It's not just another cryptocurrency out there. Like, we are in that sliver of a very small number. We've talked about this over our AMAs. Only 7% of tokens in this space have actual utility. And an even smaller amount are realizing that you need to have something supporting the token if there's downturns in the market, when people decide to pull out and, unwind their investments, and maybe the chart doesn't look as great, like that could end the token's lifespan. And what I can say with what they're building in the background here, like, you're not going to be able to kill this token. It's going to be around until like they decide to get rid of the company, essentially. Like, the only way the token will die is if you guys just abandoned it and walked away, which there's no way you're doing that. But like, so we're not really too concerned about, day-to-day market movements as much, because we know what we're building in the background, which is going to give that resistance and that support over time to the price.
Justin, that's beautifully said. And I tell people this all the time. I ask anybody out there listening to me right now, you challenge this group here to come up with a better sustainable business model, then I will leave and go to work for you. But I haven't seen it. And I came to this company because we're changing lives. We're impacting those that are what the world would call the downtrodden. We're opening up opportunity. We're creating philanthropic opportunities. And to Rick's point earlier, when he talks about the data and the different markets and the ability to monetize someone's individual data, that's the most disruptive and most game-changing opportunity, not just for you, the placeholder, but really for every industry out there. We're creating multiple revenue streams of opportunity. So the utility is what it's all about. But so if I was selfish and I was looking at, I want to increase my wealth. Well, that's great. Wegro is doing just that. But we're changing lives, as Walt's talked about. We have an altruistic nature, and we have an amazing ambassador program that Rachel's heading up. So I heartily recommend you get involved. Rachel, I'm going to hand the mic to you now to close us out. And thank you for the great job everybody's done tonight. Rachel, take it away.
Well, I hope everyone had as much fun as me. I learn something every week, and I sit on them every week. So thanks, everyone. I know it's late some places, but I'm just really impressed with you guys. Good job. And hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Rachel. And everyone, donate to Hoffa Foundation. Hoffa Foundation. It's at hoffafoundation.org.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys.
Take care.